Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we're doing 1994's hard to find PCU. Before we get started, if you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Corey_Idol. And if you want to follow the show, you could follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Kiss the Reviews. Let's get into this cast of 1994's PCU. This film stars Jeremy Piven as James Droz Andrews, Chris Young as Tom Lawrence, Megan Ward as Katy, Jon Favreau as Gutter, David Spade as Rand McPherson, and Jessica Walter as President Garcia-Thompson.
I have pretty much had a crush on Katy every time I have seen this movie.
When I first saw this movie in 94, I was like, I hope every woman in college looks like Katy and acts like Katy. Like I had the biggest crush on her going into college.
Well, of course you did. It was a female in a movie.
Exactly. We'll just add that to the list of my young adult life movie watching.
The Rainbow Coalition in your pants.
I'll say this. Okay, two things. One, I don't know who requested this one. I loved the request when it came out. I have loved this movie since the first time I saw it. But this one, man, was hard to find. You can't even order the DVD on Amazon. That's how, like, if Amazon doesn't sell it, it probably doesn't exist. Like, I found this on a random website. So,
wouldn't it be ironic if this movie was just protested against?
And exactly,
they
right.
Putting it, they
you know what?
it.
I thought about this a wee little bit, and I'm like, maybe PCU, politically correct, they're railing against that, and yada yada. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why you can't find it anywhere. But then I went, you can rent Soul Man on Amazon. So I was like, that can't be the case. There's so many movies out there that it's like, why are we even still selling this or making it available for people to rent? And then I went, oh, it's probably just like a contract. It's like somebody owns it and is like, no, it's mine and I'm keeping it.
Pretty much. I'm the only one that owns it now.
Yeah.
Picking up your butt. Yeah. Which is a shame too, because this is a good movie.
Yeah,
it's fucking hilarious, and holy shit, is it still relevant as fuck. If you remade this today, it would just all be about social media, because all of the people that graduated from this college jumped on Twitter and are picking a fucking cause a week to this day.
Exactly. That was how far ahead of its time it was. I mean, because obviously as like Gen Xers and growing up, at this time at like in the early 90s into the mid 90s, you did start having some more, PC conversations and that kind of thing. But they took this like little tiny PC conversation and blew it up into a what if situation. What if there was like, they just made it so this universe that they built was like, holy shit, you're basically just predicting the future.
I was going to say, nailed it.
Yep.
I mean,
so let's jump into this one, because I love this movie, and god damn does Jon Favreau look young as shit in this movie. Happy with dreads is my favorite character of all time.
Jon Favreau is one of those guys, like a lot of people talk about, like, oh my God, Christian Bale lost all of this weight for The Machinist, and then he got buff for Batman, and then he put on more weight to play Dick Cheney, right? Like his and Tom Hanks and his crazy body trans. Can we discuss Jon Favreau? Because he looks different in almost every film he's ever been in. And I don't mean his face, I mean his entire fucking person.
Yes.
It's insane. And you can't just tell me that's makeup.
No. He has changed his body type so many times over the course of his career.
Yeah, he's basically the famous Armando.
You were correct.
I liken myself to like Oprah, where it's just like skinny Armando, fat Armando, medium Armando. Like, and I'm on that scale, like depending on what time of year it is.
I'll be your Gail. We can be Oprah and Gail.
Awesome. Well, let's get into this. So this movie opens as Tom, a prefrosh, is visiting PCU to see if he wants to go to school there. Admissions gave Tom Droz's name as a tour guide at this fraternity, even though fraternities on this campus were outlawed in the 60s. So now they live in this house. They call it the Pit. And it's just like this group of, I don't know, the land of misfit toys, basically.
Yeah. And it starts off like every other kind of college movie does. You know, and frankly, it's a little bit like just everybody's trying to be their person. You know what I mean? Like we're in the band and we play band, but we're stupid, man. We're skateboarders. You know, just everybody has their archetype. And Piven, when you first coffee now. All of it is so just like, oh my god, I saw Belushi do this 30 fucking years before this movie came out. But I will say this, they have to do this in all of these movies because you have to set the scene.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely the way it is.
I will say this, as far as Jeremy Piven goes, this is probably, outside of Ari, like this is probably one of my favorite roles of his. And the coffee scene at the very beginning of this, I don't know why, but I piss my, and again, I know it's set up and I know it's a little like whatever, but I don't know why, but it always makes me laugh because like that's who I picture myself in college hungover as. Like that's who I am.
Hell yes.
So after trying to pawn Tom off on everyone else in the house, Droz takes him on a campus tour where he shows him protests of war and nukes and meat, and everybody's got a new thing that they're protesting that week, and that's kind of what the campus has turned into. And then you have the womanists, and you can't call them girls. And like this whole scene, like basically just setting up the backdrop of what's about to happen in this movie is fantastic. And this is where it's like, holy shit, like all of the cause heads, they got a different cause every single week. And like that blew my mind. Little things like that throughout the movie kind of blew my mind how far ahead of their time they were.
Yeah, when they were describing all the different archetypes of all the different groups, I was like, holy shit, like they are nailing this
left and right.
So far before it really went off the rails. It's amazing. And the only part I didn't really like or don't think holds up to this day is them throwing the meat at like the vegans or whatever. And it's not because they're like, that's mean. It's because you're wasting so much good meat. But you have a barbecue in front of these dickheads. You don't throw it at them. You eat it in front of them. You shit dicks.
I hear you. No,
you don't. It's meat.
What shall we eat? Red meat. Why shall we eat it? It's murder.
This scene where they go up into the cafeteria, they get all the raw meat and they're just throwing it at the vegan protesters is the most like early 90s Gen X thing.
Oh, 100%.
Ever. That encapsulates who we were in that time. Like, perfectly.
Oh, yeah. Before I knew the price of meat, like when this movie came out.
Yes. You're angry because you're old. You're angry because you're old and you're like, do you know how much fucking pork chops cost?
Like, dude, do you know how much? Like, seriously, that could have fed me for weeks, if not months. And you're just throwing it at assholes that don't eat meat. Throw meat at people that eat meat because it's free meat.
Hey, you're mad at inflation, not this movie. Just FYI. That's what you're mad at.
Thanks a lot, Brandon.
We then cut to President Garcia-Thompson and Rand McPherson. they're trying to come up with a plan to kick the people from the pit out of school so Rand and his fraternity, his quote-unquote fraternity, can take over their house. And Garcia-Thompson tells the pit here that they owe $7,000 for damages on campus, or they're all getting kicked off campus. Droz then comes up with an idea to throw an all-campus rager to raise the money to pay off Garcia-Thompson, which was their plan to begin with.
And I have to say, I am not the biggest David Spade fan in the world. You give me David Spade with Chris Farley, dope. And I don't think anybody's arguing that.
Yeah.
Joe Dirt, it's just, he's not my guy, okay?
Yeah.
That being said, this character for David Spade is a home fucking run.
Yes.
Every time he plays it, whether it's this guy, a lesser toned down version of this guy, like in Tommy Boy, it is perfect for him. This is his wheelhouse, and he does 100% it so well.
Don't run from your feelings. I think it's time people know the truth about us.
The best part that encapsulates David Spade in this movie and how well this role is suited for him is after this. So after they throw the meat, the gang scatters. Tom is kind of lost. He manages to piss off everybody on campus, and he's chased around by all the students until he gets knocked out and dragged into the Balls and Shaft underground fraternity. And David Spade shines in this scene. And this basically sets up the rest of the movie and who he is. And his whole, the one joke in here, and he was like, Mayflower material.
Mayflower material, I presume?
Huh?
It's a boat. Your ancestors obviously didn't come over on it.
That joke sets up the rest of like who his character is throughout the movie. And it again, he plays it to perfection throughout the movie.
Oh yeah, he's basically Marjorie Taylor Greene before she transformed.
You were correct.
They are so on the nose with this stuff.
Yep.
And obviously, it's 94. I was so fucking young. Freshman, maybe a sophomore at this time.
Yep.
So what I knew about like all of these archetypes, it was nothing. I was so invested I was like Stan Marsh when he discovers boobs. But watching this now and just being like, fuck, like it has literally always been the same.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. Everybody's like, this is the worst it's ever been. Has it? Look at this movie. They were making fun of you 20, 30 years ago, dickhead.
Yeah.
They knew who you were back then. In movies like this, I appreciate them so much. Whether or not they hold up is irrelevant. Like with the jokes and this stuff, just because they called their shot and actually hit it out of the park. It's fucking amazing. Just amazing. It's like this was Idiocracy before Idiocracy came out.
Yes. That's a great point. That is a great point. So we then get to the Frisbee game. And this is where it sets up that Droz used to be roommates with Rand when they were freshmen. And we get the flashback to when he was a freshman, and Droz is trying to get laid, and Rand is just like the nerd with the retainer in. And Droz then sees his old girlfriend, who's a womanist. He invites her to the party that they're having. And then this is where we get Tom getting chased through the Frisbee game, and he snags the bee, bro. Again, this whole scene sets up a lot of things. And I'll say this, as far as the flashback scene, I don't know if anybody out there went to college, lived in dorms, or did any of that. I did. And when this movie came out, I think maybe a year later, 2 years later, I was living in dorms. This was repeated. You could not sleep. My roommate and I, if you fell asleep, you were getting something thrown at you, put under your pillow. Somebody was screaming, "Go to sleep," and waking you up at 3 a.m. for no fucking reason.
Go to sleep! Go to sleep! It's time to go to sleep! Oh my God!
Looking back on it now, I'm like, God damn, we were fucked up. And back then, it was the funniest shit I had ever experienced in my life. We literally would reenact this scene.
Yeah, I was pretty much. I didn't go to a university or a situation where I had to live into a dorm. I'm what they call a self-made man.
Hell yes.
I can almost assure you I would have been more on the Rand side of this. Because I go to bed early as fuck. I'm what they call a professional addict. So I go to bed early. And so I would have been the guy like, hey, I'm trying to go to sleep with my fucking mouth guard in and shit like that. It would not have been great for me. I would not have survived. This is a glimpse of you and I being in college together.
100%.
And,
all the way down to Jeremy Piven's long hair.
Yep. The hair and the outfit.
Oh,
and on the whole professional addict thing, I think we have to do this.
Corey's life lessons.
Hi, amateur drug users. Uncle Corey here. If you're one of the stoners in this movie, man, and it hits you that hard, fucking stop taking drugs. You're embarrassing, and that's why it's taken so long to legalize this shit everywhere. It's your fucking fault. Be a professional. I've been fucking stoned for 40 years, dickhead. Nobody knows it.
Is it possible this story is true?
Can I just tack something onto this? Just because you happen to like weed doesn't mean you have to buy a rug to wear, or you have to learn how to crochet now, or hacky sack. You could be a normal person and do normal person things and just, I don't know, treat cannabis like you would alcohol and have a drink after work or do something like that. You don't have to be this guy or these guys and gals, okay? You don't have to dab patchouli on your body. I don't need to smell that shit. Corey's right. This is all your fault.
Amateur shit.
Gutter then here gets high with his high friends and his stoner friends, and he has to get beer for the party. He fucks that up and passes out. We have the courtroom scene here, which is fantastic, where he's in front of Congress and they're doing the whole back and forth, and I didn't exhale. And dude, this scene is funny, but if you ask anybody who's seen this movie, the scene in here, in these series of scenes here with Gutter, that sticks out and that is probably the most quoted out of this movie is, "Can you blow me where the Pampers is?"
What?
Can you blow me where the Pampers is?
To this day, I still use that from time to time. If somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying, I will just throw out, "Can you blow me where the Pampers is?" We then cut to the bicentennial cocktail party. The board of old white men, they're angry with President Garcia-Thompson because there's been protests on campus every day. This is where she talks about the new mascot for the school. Instead of the offensive Indian, she's going with the whooping crane, an endangered. The way she delivers the line.
I'm going to announce the changing of the school mascot from the offensive Port Chester Indian to an endangered species.
Just her mouth, the way the line's delivered is, she does such a great job in this movie with that character.
Oh, dude, if the stoners in this movie are the reason pot didn't get legalized, she's the reason Hillary Clinton didn't get voted in. Because she's what people all over the world imagine Hillary Clinton to really be like. And she's not. I've had dinner with her plenty of times. She's a lovely person.
This is such a crock of shit.
After this, while hiding from the mob, Tom overhears the two old white guys talking about wanting to fire Garcia-Thompson, but they need a reason for it. And then we go to the pit where nobody shows up at the party. The women show up to protest. Droz then drums up the troops into getting this party kicked off. They get promotion from the radio. They find booze. Katy's job is to get the people. She only finds like the foreign exchange students.
That is so. I love from the point where Droz goes, Katy, you're a freshman. Find 2,000 people. That alone is funny as shit. But then her walking around with the 3 people running into Tom. And then my favorite, there are a couple lines in this that are just hit so well. They're done so perfectly timed and everything else. But when Tom goes, oh, I got an idea. Hey, butt licks. And she goes, Jesus Christ, Tom. I fall out every fucking time.
Remember me?
Jesus Christ, Tom!
And going back to them, like, basically predicting the future, this scene where they're looking for the mob and Tom's about to call them over, and they cut to the mob running through campus.
Yeah.
And it was like, I heard he was recruiting for the CIA. Well, I heard he injected the meat with hormones before he threw it at the vegan, blah, blah, blah. And you hear all these like rumors and conjecture as they're trying to go find him.
Exactly.
This is literally what Twitter is.
Yes.
Like, those conversations are what Twitter is. Well, here's a new, everything's a goddamn conspiracy theory nowadays. And nothing, listen, I'm the first person to be like, I don't take a lot of things on face value. But with that said, it is what it is. Everybody's going into these spiraling funnel of darkness with these conspiracy theories. And if you just take that conversation had with, 20 or 30 people looking for Tom on campus, and you multiply it by millions on Twitter and Instagram and fucking Facebook and all that shit, that's what you have. Like, this was the most future predicting scene of all time.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the more important lessons you can learn overall. Is it's fine if you have an opinion about anything, but understand your opinion doesn't mean shit.
Yes.
Nothing. It is worth nothing. It's not. We give our opinions for a living, and I live in this room. Literally, this is my home. My opinion's worth nothing.
Yes. No, when we talk, our opinions hit the walls in our room. And that's where it ends. That's where it dissipates.
Yeah.
But
Dude, I forget half of the movies we've done the second we stop recording them. Who gives a shit?
exactly. But Gutter here, we then get Gutter running into George Clinton's tour bus because they're lost in getting to the concert that he's supposed to be at. So he gets a ride back to the pit where we get Parliament Funkadelic setting up to play at the party. And then this is where Tom has all the people chase him over to the pit.
Two things with this. One, I love the long running joke that Gutter is a music major and has no idea who anybody is this whole time.
My favorite is after he's announcing P-Funk All-Stars, and after he announces it, it finally sinks in. He was like, oh shit, and he gets super excited about it.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And my favorite line in this entire movie, it's a throwaway line, it's not a big deal, but the whole crowd has gotten to the pit. Droz has him. He says, take him downstairs and beat the shit out of him. And then he goes, I see you've all met Tom. And the chick that goes, yeah, I fucking met Tom. I fucking fall out of my goddamn chair laughing every single time.
I understand you all met Tom.
Yeah, I fucking met Tom.
Yes, absolutely. I do too. It's such a it's a great delivered line. Like, you couldn't deliver that line more perfect than she does.
No, dude, like, you want to talk about standing out. She is literally in a group of hundreds of extras.
Yes.
And she has 2 lines this whole movie. Like, he fucked over our thesis. And yeah, I fucking met Tom. And she nails her first line so well. All I want to do is watch her now the rest of the movie.
Yep.
I want to see her, this stressed out chick, try and finish her thesis.
Yes. Well,
it's fucking amazing.
When we get there, so that, the party goes off, they raise the 7,000. Spoiler. George Clinton plays, Droz then gets thesis papers to the people that Tom pissed off, and he kicked out the plug and they lost all their thesis. So he goes down, and this is, again, one of my favorite scenes, because the chick from the front door, she's the first one in line, and particle physics, whatever, he gives her the paper and she goes off. And then we get the next guy in line who he's like, okay, what's your major? And the guy goes, Sanskrit. One of the best back and forths between Jeremy Piven and this dude. And then we get the guy who comes up and he's like, okay, what's your major? And he goes, phys ed. And he's like, seriously, get the fuck out of my room.
Phys ed. Okay, you're out of my room. Seriously, get out.
It's a little scene. It's what, a minute maybe out of the movie? But again, one of the most memorable scenes that if you've seen the movie, you always remember this scene.
Yes. And this is one of those great scenes in film too, especially in comedy, where there are so many different layers involved in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's taking a piss on these kids majoring in bullshit. Like, what the fuck? Who majors in Sanskrit?
Yes.
The Pope doesn't know Sanskrit. It's fucking ridiculous to do that. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
So just like that, and him having, and again, it shows Droz being way more intelligent than he lets on, because when he gives the first woman her thesis on the excited helium in a heated state, and he's like, it's a scorcher. That's the sun. That's what the sun is doing. So him able to like just transfer that, it's like there are so many layers built into this one scene. This is such good writing, and I love it so much that they do this. And you don't even and why I think it's so good is because they take it, and over time as you watch it, because in 94, you might not know that. I certainly didn't. So when you watch it then, you're just like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And you're laughing at he majored in PE.
You were right.
And now sitting down watching it, where I know I can't possibly learn another thing. It's all downhill from here. Yeah. I've reached peak knowledge. So like watching it now, it's phenomenal. All of the built-in jokes inside of it.
No, it was great. I mean, I loved all the jokes. I loved, just some of the things they did with those jokes and some of the callbacks, and it's phenomenal. And I'll get to why I liked it so much. But we get to Garcia-Thompson here. She shows up. She stops the party. Droz shows the president that they have the money, but she tells them that they have enough complaint forms to kick them off campus. Balls and Shaft begins to move in. Rand tells them the whole plan from the beginning. And Tom then tells the group that the old guys he overheard want to get rid of Garcia-Thompson, but they can't unless she screws something up really big. So we cut to the bicentennial celebration the next day. Droz and his crew show up. They crash the celebration, and he gives this impassioned speech. And at the end, he asks the students
that we're not going to protest.
And the students begin to protest, and the old white guys fire Thompson. And this is, again, one of those things that, maybe when the movie came out, you're like, oh, that's funny. I get, but like looking at this now, it is so funny to me how it was written. And we're going to protest protesting. It was like the whole ending to this movie is brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And I have to give a shout out to my girl Moonbeam, who is by far my favorite side character in this movie. She's fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And she looks like a Tracy Ullman character. The first time I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, Tracy Ullman's in this shit. Because that's when she had her show and was doing all the bits and shit. So I really thought like that's who that was for like 90% of my life. But I love her character. She's so fucking funny. When Garcia-Thompson walks in and goes, Moonbeam, and she's on the dude's shoulders watching George Clinton. Love it.
No, absolutely.
And yeah, the ending of this is great. His speech is good. Him setting up Rand with the microphone and Rand just going off using every Republican's behind closed doors $25,000 donor dinner words. Those are fantastic. It's all done so perfectly well. It ends exactly how these movies are always going to end, which there's nothing wrong with it. There's comfort in that. We're not here to break new ground. We're here to laugh.
Yeah.
That's it. And it does that very well. I love the end too when they're getting ready to initiate him. Again, one of those small lines, but like, Jeremy Piven pulls down his Jason mask. Tom looks at him and goes, Droz. And he goes, yeah? Like he's all fucking jacked up. There are these little subtle things that you can see in really decent actors.
Yeah.
Where they can hold the character, they can hold the moment they're in that scene and carry it throughout. Like he does here, like Jeremy Piven does here. And it's just, you got to appreciate that as we've watched so many movies where so many actors, major actors, cannot do this or don't care to do it.
Yeah.
So
no, sometimes they're just
nice
phoning it in. Yeah. No, it's
even
really
if
nice
to
see.
Even if it is a 50-year-old man playing a 28-year-old kid.
I'm sorry. Like, I think Jeremy Piven started losing it. Like his hairline was receding when he was like 12. So he looked like he was 40 from the time he was like 13 years old.
Yes.
But no, what I really liked about this movie, what I liked about it then, and I didn't realize it then, what I like about it now are the same reasons that I like South Park.
Mm-hmm.
The writing is very similar. And how they shape the joke and how the jokes are written there versus how the jokes are written in South Park. They're setting you up for something. And if you get it and you understand the situation, the context, the joke is funny. For guys, and back in 94 when this movie came out, for us, it was like, yeah, dicks and fart. Yeah. You could still laugh at how sophomoric the humor was. But if you start looking into how it was written and some of the things in this movie, in the script and how it's performed, you're like, oh, it was a little bit deeper than just surface level. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
100%.
I love comedies like that where you can look at it 20, 30. I mean, we're almost 30 years this movie. Next year is its 30th anniversary. Can somebody please put this on a fucking streaming service? Or I thought I had it on DVD. I literally went through boxes of DVDs, could not find it. But I'd like to own this and actually watch this again.
So it seems like you have to in order to watch it.
Yeah, you could buy it on eBay for like $60. I found a copy for $60 on eBay, and I'm like, slow down, guy. I like this movie, not that much.
Yeah, I think Armando hit on something, and if you want a glimpse of what America is in 2023 heading into 2024, he said it at the beginning. Soul Man is less dangerous to watch and is available to rent in many places, whereas PCU is nowhere to be found. So PCU to whatever is more dangerous to the American public than Soul Man.
Yeah, I don't know when this movie becomes part of public domain, but I'm buying it. And I will make it available to the public. I mean, I only have like $100 to put towards it, but like I'll attempt to buy it anyway.
First off, any purchases you make are going to be discussed between us. This is basically a business marriage at this point. And we will not be giving it away for free. We will be selling it for a lot of money, apparently, because it's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, we'll put
you can't find it anywhere.
Services. We'll put it on streaming services. We'll do all of that. Please. Yeah. Who are you talking to? I'm trying to retire. Okay.
All right.
But I only have $100.
I didn't get here because of my looks, Chief.
Nor did I. And we'll end there because I don't want to get into this conversation of my self-loathing. But if you don't have anything, I don't have anything. For Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1994's PCU.